These were the images of Lamine Yamal arriving at the Barcelona offices today as he has officially signed his contract renewal and he has also officially received the number 10 kit. Today is July 16, 2025. We're going to be covering Lamine Yamal becoming the number 10 and, of course, amongst other news like Barcelona's return to the Camp Nou, which has been delayed, and also Luis Diaz, who has requested or will be requesting to leave Liverpool. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News Live podcast, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but we also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering any questions, and getting the discussion going live, which makes podcast days my favorite day. And of course, podcasts are always on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. For those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will put in time to subscription, chapters in the timeline in case you do want to skip through the discussion. Get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the Goal Kids, Kickback, or Fanatics. If you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first segment of this podcast will be comprised of multiple bits of news. It's starting with that we do have an update in regards to the sponsorship that Barcelona are finalizing with the Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, as I reported previously, Barcelona are now negotiating with the DRC. Let's say DRC for short. A sponsorship where the sentence RDC, the Heart of Africa, will appear on Barcelona's kit. And the last update that I told you was that it was going to be for 3 seasons. 10 million euros per season for a total of 30 million euros. The negotiations are now entering the final stages. And now we do have an update. They're saying it might be a 4-season deal. So it might be 10 million per season for 4 years. So that would make it a 40 million euro sponsorship deal, which of course would be a huge financial boost for Barcelona. Now, these negotiations are still ongoing. Again, they're entering the final stages. In fact, the Minister of Sport from the DRC, Didier Budimbu, had flown to Barcelona on May 19th in order to start negotiations. The negotiations have been ongoing for the last 2 months. And now that we're in the final stages, we should expect an official announcement by the club in the next few upcoming weeks. And again, it could be a 4-year, not a 3-year deal. So it could be 40 million total rather than 30 million total, which of course, again, would be a huge financial boost for the club. Now, there's also been a little bit of conflicting reports. Some reports stating that this sentence, RDC, the Heart of Africa, could appear on the training kit, while other reports say it would appear on the official kit. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see which one it is. But nonetheless, just know that this sponsorship is reaching its final stage of negotiations. And once we have an official statement from the club, we'll, of course, know all the details of how long is it going to be? Is it going to be 30 or 40? And of course, whether the sentence RDC, the Heart of Africa, will appear on the kit or on the training kit. But either way, very exciting news because, of course, this will only help Barcelona reach the 1-to-1 rule and will only help Barcelona financially as far as signing and contract renewals. Now, on to the next bit of news because, of course, as you know, the preseason is underway. Today was the 3rd day of training, the 4th session of training because today they had a double session. And while it's reported that Barcelona's physical trainers or physical preparers are very surprised with Marc Bernal's progress. Not only his progress from his injury, because as you know, he suffered a very serious injury at the beginning of last season. He had to undergo surgery. But not only are they very happy or pleasantly surprised with his progression with his injury while he's recovering really well, but the news is that they are very surprised with how much he has physically developed. It looks like Marc Bernal is in top shape. He's developed a lot more muscles. He's a lot stronger, more explosive. So it looks like this year that he had off and this year that he spent, at the gym has gone a long way in making Marc Bernal or put Marc Bernal in a much better physical condition, which has left the Barcelona physical trainer in absolute awe. So, of course, this is great news because not only we know Marc Bernal will receive the green light before the season begins, so he will be available, but also that he's going to be in a much better shape, a lot stronger, more explosive than he was last year. Now, by the way, there isn't a single coach in the Barcelona setup from the first team all the way throughout the academy that doesn't say that Marc Bernal is it. He is on a different level. We have Lamine Yamal, who's obviously the best in the world, or will be the best in the world if he's not yet. We have Pau Cubarsí, who's like the Lamine Yamal of defense. And then there's Marc Bernal, who's kind of like the Lamine Yamal of the midfield. So if you were to ask me, hey, Mo, who's the Messi, Xavi, Iniesta of this generation? Well, these three, Lamine Yamal, Pau Cubarsí, and Marc Bernal are the Messi, Iniesta, Xavi of this generation. Because yes, there are a lot of great players who have come out of the academy. Gabi, what's his name, Balde, etc., or Casado. But when it comes to these three, they're in a completely different category. These are the kind of players who have been, blessed, to put it that way, where they are just special in a different way, not like the rest. So very excited to see Marc Bernal start playing again. Of course, as I told you before, the plan is to bring him back slowly. Barcelona don't want to take any risk with him, so don't expect to see him in the beginning of weeks, or if you do, it's going to be probably very few minutes here and there. We'll probably see him more towards the second half of the season. Now, speaking of the preseason, today, once again, Marc ter Stegen did not train with the team. This is the third day that Marc ter Stegen continues to train at the gym away from the group. It's technically the fourth session that he continues to train by himself because, again, today they had a double session. And, of course, as I told you in yesterday's video, Barcelona's official version is that ter Stegen is having some back discomfort, and that's why he's not training with the team. They've also have decided to have ter Stegen undergo medical testing. The results have not been announced. We'll see. But again, there's a lot of talks that this just might be an excuse, that this could be the club isolating ter Stegen to kind of force him out, or it could be ter Stegen saying, hey, F this, I'm going to train by myself, or it could be ter Stegen, trying to stay fit and healthy in case, he does end up making a move, because after all, as I told you in yesterday's video, his agent has already begun making calls. He's reaching out to other clubs through intermediaries. He's reaching out to clubs who have already declared their interest, like Monaco and Galatasaray. And they're even saying that Manchester City are now joining the race for the German goalkeeper. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with ter Stegen. But just know this is the fourth session or third day in a row that ter Stegen trains on his own. All right, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about the Spotify Camp Nou. Because guess what? They lie to us again. All right, let's do the comment section. Let's see. Besu Ficad says, hey, Mo, how you doing? I just wanted to ask, when are you shaving your beard again? I don't know. I don't really like to shave my beard. I do it like once every other year or something like that. I do it very rarely, and it's usually because I get bored of my beard. I get tired of my beard, so I'm like, F it. I shave it, and then I'm like, oh, crap. I immediately regret it, and then I grow it back, and then a year and a half goes by or 2 years, and then I do the same thing. It's pretty much, it's a vicious cycle. Mohammed says, congratulations to our Diamond Star boy with his new number 10 kit. I wish you all the best on your new journey. May you deliver more than what we expect from you or expecting you. Good luck to you, the son of the soil. Amen, my friend. Congratulations to Lamine. Of course, we are going to talk about him renewing his contract and receiving the number 10. And of course, we hope that, we'll have many years of brilliant performances by our young star. McCoy says, Mo, do you think we can go in the next season without signing a left winger and rely on La Masia instead? I mean, we could. We did it last season. We had Rafinha, who had absolutely brilliant numbers. And, we have, Dani Rodriguez. We have Kim Gian Virgili. I mean, we do have options. So, yeah, we could. We could technically go without signing the left winger. I mean, We won 3 trophies and made it to the semifinals of the Champions League without signing a left winger last season. I don't see why we couldn't this season. This upcoming season. Raul Davidson says, "Hello Mo, it's 12:30 a.m. in Nigeria. Good to see Yamal being handed over the number 10 jersey. I pray to bring more success to the club. Visca Barça. Visca Barça, my friend. Thank you for being up this late watching the podcast. And yes, I hope that Lamine Yamal will do great, great things. And, hopefully will bring us plenty of trophies with that number 10 kit on his back." And Lanray says, "Yo, Mo, taking nothing away from Flick's ability. The way other teams are stacking up with season scares me. I know Atletico do not have winning mentality, but they can still be a stumbling block. I mean, look, every summer is the same. Last summer, all the teams were reinforcing themselves. All the teams were making signings. The summer before, the same. The summer before, the same. I mean, we do not we shouldn't at least concern ourselves with what other teams are doing. We should only concern ourselves with what we're doing. And if Flick believes that we don't need anything else, or Flick believes that we're good with what we have, then that's what we got to worry about. What other teams do, none of our business. Other teams can sign 1,000,000 players, none of our business. As long as we know what we need and we're addressing those needs and we can, work with what we have, that's all that matters. Remember last summer, everybody kept asking, "Mo, what are we going to do? Real Madrid signed Mbappe." And I said, nothing. I don't care about what Madrid signed. We have to focus on ourselves and work on improving ourselves and worry about how we perform. And guess what? We beat Madrid 4 matches in a row. 3 trophies taken away from them. Where's the talk about Mbappe? So why is this summer any different? If Madrid wants to sign 20 players, let them sign 20 players. We don't care. We worry about what we do, what we need. Costadin says, "Diaz just got married. At this point, Deco hopes he becomes Luis's side piece. This man is in love." Yeah, maybe that's why Deco's trying to bring him. He's like, man, he got married. I need him up close. We need to sign him so I can, try to break his marriage and bag him. Maybe. That's a good hypothesis. Java the Hut says, "If Barca can't get a quality winger this year, I think they should save their money and try again next summer." Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what transpires. Of course, the summer transfer market still has a month and a half to go. So we'll see what Barcelona come up with. And Anderson says, "Hey Mo, Anderson from Angola. I'm glad to catch you live. I'm glad you're watching live." And Mike Valencia says, "What's up, Mo? I think Barca shouldn't renew Deco. We need people with experience, just like Hansi replacing Xabi." Well, I mean, I don't think that's what Barcelona is trying to do, renew Deco or not. I mean, those positions are different. They're not like players where you sign 2-3 year contract and then you get renewed. It's kind of more like you got hired and people either end up quitting or they end up getting fired. And Mr. XP says, "If we are searching for a striker when Lewy leaves or retires or can play no more due of age, I think we should get Sesko from RB Leipzig." Mo, what do you think of Sesko? I think it's a good option. I don't know if necessarily would be a good starting option, but I do like what I've seen from Sesko. Obviously, I haven't seen too much because I don't really watch RB Leipzig every match they do. I have seen his highlights. It looks like a promising center forward, but I don't know or striker, I should say. I don't know if he's necessarily what Barcelona are looking for, but we'll see. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have bad news, which at this point, honestly, I expected it. In fact, I said this probably could happen. I was hoping that it didn't, but it has happened. And the news is that Barcelona will not be able to return to the Spotify Camp Nou by the August 10th date that Barcelona announced officially. By the way, they had actually announced officially. They made videos. They had Laporta do a post and this whole fanfare about Barcelona will be back by August 10th for the Joan Gamper Trophy against Como. It looks like it's not going to happen. This has been completely ruled out because, of course, the stadium is not ready. Now, as I told you in previous videos, Barcelona need 2 permits in order to go back. They already achieved the first one. The second one is the occupancy permit, which is when new buildings open, you need to get that permit from the city, which allows you to have people in that building. That permit can only be issued if Barcelona complete the first 2 rings, which will be the 2 rings that will host people at a capacity of 60,000 people. And of course, the rings are not ready. So therefore, that permit cannot be issued. And it doesn't matter how many people Barcelona want to include in the Joan Gamper Trophy, because, of course, initially there were talks like, oh, 20 to 30,000 people. Then they said, no, it's going to be 60,000. Then they brought it down to 20 to 30. It doesn't matter. Both rings have to be fully ready in order for Barcelona to receive the permit. And since they're not both going to be ready by August 10th, no Joan Gamper Trophy. Now, that's not the only thing or the only reason why Barcelona will not be able to go back. Also, there's still basement work that needs to be completed. And of course, stadium access points also need to be finalized. What does that mean? As you know, if you look at the picture, or if you've been to the Camp Nou, the Camp Nou is not just like a stadium in the middle of like that's just surrounded by streets. It's in the middle of a campus, as you can see here in the screen. There's the store, the Palau Blaugrana. It's a big campus. So in order to get to the stadium, you have to walk through that campus. And of course, that campus right now, well, it's full of machinery, trucks, construction material, cranes. So you cannot access the stadium from the street. So that has to be finalized, plus the basement work, plus the two rings have to be fully ready in order for the city to issue the permit. That's not going to happen on time. So the return to the Camp Nou on August 10th, which was officially announced by the club, has been completely ruled out. And here's the kicker. The new objective now is, of course, as I told you before, the September 14th, September 15th weekend. That's the fourth fixture of the upcoming season against Valencia. The first three fixtures are away matches that Barcelona requested. They wanted 3 away matches at the beginning to give them more time to get the stadium ready. La Liga approved it. So the fourth fixture against Valencia on September 14th weekend will be the first home match. So now that's a new objective, but there's already people saying that we might not even meet that objective. Now, the Joan Gamper for sure ruled out. No return on August 10th. September 14th, still the objective, but there's some doubts. And honestly, when it was first announced that Barcelona would be back to the Joan Gamper Trophy on August 10th, I said, I don't know. I don't believe it. I was like, I hope we do, but I don't see it happening. Not because I'm some genius that can see the future, predict the future, but I think anybody with common sense who would look at these pictures would tell you there's no way the stadium will be ready. I mean, it's a full-blown construction project, construction site. Like, how is this going to be ready in a few weeks for the Joan Gamper Trophy? Second, there was plenty of architects and construction experts that were on TV saying there's no way this is going to be ready. So the signs were there. Third, the city itself. Remember, I made a video about this. The city itself, the city council of the city of Barcelona said they were very pessimistic. They did not think that this stadium would be ready by August 10th. And finally, because honestly, once you've been lied to so many times, it becomes very difficult to believe what comes out of this board's mouth. Because let's not forget, the original return date was November 29, 2024, which was the anniversary of Barcelona. Then they told us, no, it's not going to be ready by then, but don't worry. We'll be back by the end of December for the Atletico Madrid match, which was the final match before the winter break. That didn't happen. They're like, no, it's because the Champions League, you can't really have a new change stadiums until the group stages are done. So we'll be back in February once the group stages are done. That also didn't happen. Oh, no, don't worry. We'll be back by April. That also didn't happen. Oh, no, it's okay. We're going to be back by May. We're going to play the Clásico match at the Camp Nou. That also didn't happen. And now they announced, August 10th. That's also not going to happen. That's 6 lies in a row that this board just continues to feed us. And at some point, you stop believing the bullshit that they keep telling us. Or at least some people do, because I'm sure once this is over, I'm going to see all kind of comments defending Laporta and, Mo, you're a hater. I mean, my God. Fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice and thrice and 4 times and 5 times and 6 times, and you're still believing what they're telling you? I mean, at this point, you have to be pretty stupid to just accept the lies and just accept to be lied to your face time and time again. And by the way, this is the only field or the only area where this would happen. If this happened in any other corporate setting, if Apple announced that the new iPhone was going to be launched on November, then they changed it to December, then to February, then to April, then to May, then to August, then to September, heads would roll at Apple. CEO would be fired. Heads would roll. But no, in the football world, this happens. Why? Because people allow it to happen. Because, these Laporta comes out, he lies to us. And what do? We believe his lies. And we continue to believe his lies. But no, 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 no. If you don't believe his lies, you're a hater, right? You're just against Laporta. You're just, Mo, you just support Victor Font. I mean, look, my friend, if you want Laporta to continue pissing in your face and all you do is continue to put your face for him to piss on it, that's honestly your business. But August 10th, ruled out completely. We'll see if we'll meet the September deadline or the September objective of returning to the Camp Nou. And by the way, this does complicate the Champions League because remember, the Champions League, you cannot change stadiums during group stages. So if Barcelona do not start the season at the Camp Nou, they start it somewhere else, we're going to have to place at that wherever we end up in the entire group stages, and we wouldn't be able to play the knockout stages until obviously February, March, which is when they begin. So not looking good. It's not looking good at all. Let's hope we meet the objective of September. But at this point, honestly, until I see the team playing on the pitch of the Camp Nou, I'm not believing anything that this board tells us because it's been bullshit lie after bullshit lie after bullshit lie. Anyways, let's do the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Lamine Yamal, who has officially renewed his contract with Barcelona. All right, let's see. John Williams says, hey, Mo, to be honest, Deco is not good enough to be the sporting director. There are better options than Luis Diaz for the left wing. Flick should decide who he wants. Deco is such disgraceful, useless fraud. I don't think the Luis Diaz option is bad, actually. I think it will be a great option. I think Luis Diaz is a great player. He will be a great addition to the team. But I don't think he's worth what Liverpool are asking for. 100 million or 85 million or even 60 million. I think that's too much for him. But it's still a great option. I wouldn't say, just because I don't believe he's worth that, I'm going to pretend that he's trash, he's garbage, and he's not going to, he wouldn't be a good addition. He would. I just don't think he's worth what Liverpool are asking for. Ross says, hey, Momo, are we getting the right back or left back? Also, is Bernal good to go by season start? Me speakity English Gudski. Right now, there's no plans to sign a right back or left back. There was discussions about maybe if we don't sign a left winger, whether it be Rashford or whomever, Barcelona could sign a fullback that can play on both sides. But right now, that's not the plan. That's just kind of like an emergency scenario or like not even an emergency, like a backup scenario, I guess. But right now, there's no plan. As far as Bernal, I mean, he will have the green light to go back to be able to play, but don't expect him to because Barcelona are going to take their sweet time with him, as they should, because he's still young. He has a very long career ahead of him. And the last thing you want to do is jeopardize that career by rushing him back. Not the Gamer says thoughts on young Mexican midfielder Gilberto Mora, who played very well for Mexico. He also becomes the youngest ever debutant, taking it from Yamal at 16 years and 2 months. I haven't really seen him play, so I can't really say. But, I mean, they beat him for Mexico the way they're currently playing. I wouldn't say that's a great achievement. But, but again, I haven't seen him play, so I can't really say. Kemi still says, Stephen name, hi Mo, Channing from Nigeria. I love the good work you're doing. Bisca Barca. Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you for watching and for your comment. And Raul says, Mo, I can't comprehend how fans still can't see through the lies of Laporta. We aren't signing anyone, but he'll rather lie to be seen as a hero than say the truth about our financial mess. I think it's like a human phenomenon where, where people just cling onto, like humans naturally, they always look for a leader, right? Someone to guide them, whether it's politics, president of a country or prime minister or whomever, or at home, family member, like a father figure or something, or at work with your boss. And, some people just, they cling to that, right? They need something, a leader to look up to. And for some reason, when people find that, they have a hard time of like objectively analyzing what that leader says, right? We see it in all areas of life, right? A president that comes and just lies and lies and lies and lies, and people who are fans of him, they just like, oh, they keep believing it and they justifying it when it turns out that he lied. I mean, they call bootlickers, right? And I think it's the same thing with Laporta, right? It's just like these people who are fans of him, and it's just like no matter how many times he lies to them, they're always gonna believe it. And if it comes out that he did lie, they're gonna justify it. And it's like no matter what you tell them, it's just not gonna change their mind. They're just they're bootlickers, right? They're just looking to believe whatever that person tells them, and they refuse to see anything else. And then if you try to point it out to them, all of a sudden you're the one who's a hater and who's wrong and who's toxic and blah, blah, to those people. I mean, there's nothing you could do if they want to be lied to and have people piss in their face. I mean, good luck to them, right? There's not much you could do. Klaus says never shave it. Well, thank you, my friend. Let's see. And Not the Gamer says our squad depth at wing in the next couple of years is going to be crazy. Lamine, Coutinho, Dani Rodriguez, Runibargi, Guille Fernandez. Yeah, Gian Virgili. I mean, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options. And Charles says, "Hi, I'm from Ghana. We're expecting more wins from our team. Bisca Barca, my friend. And yes, hopefully we'll do more wins and we'll go all the way in a Champions League." And GT Maestro says, "With the level of obsession Deco has for Diaz, I'm beginning to wonder if he has a fat cut in his deal." I don't know about a fat cut, but it is. You do kind of start wondering, like, dude, why are you so obsessed with him? I mean, maybe he does truly, believe that that is the best option. Again, Luis Diaz would not be a bad option. He would be a great option for Barcelona. It's not like Luis Diaz is obsessed with some bum, like Braithwaite or something. Like Luis Diaz is a great player. He would be a great addition, but it's just not worth. He's not worth what Liverpool are asking for. So I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about Lamine Yamal because today our young star, the best player in the world, has officially renewed his contract with Barcelona. Now, of course, the contract renewal is not new news because, as we know, this was already agreed to. Barcelona and Lamine Yamal reached an agreement to extend his contract until 2031. Everything was agreed to, contracts drawn. But of course, since Lamine Yamal was not 18 years old yet, he could not sign that contract because when you're under 18, you can only sign contracts that are maximum 3 years long. So since Lamine was still 17, he was underage, he couldn't sign a contract until 2031 because that's more than 3 years. That's 6 years total. So now that he is 18 years old, he of course turned 18 on Sunday, July the 13th. He has now officially put pen to paper, and his contract renewal has become official, where Lamine has extended his relationship with Barcelona until 2031, of course, with a huge salary increase. And the crazy thing is in 2031, it's 6 years from now, he's only going to be 24 years old. He's barely going to be entering his prime once that contract is up, which is absolute insanity. Now, of course, besides the contract renewal, which was, of course, there was a ceremony. He arrived at the office. He did the signing, pictures with Laporta, pictures at the museum. Of course, he was officially presented with the number 10 kit, and Lamine now is officially our number 10. So if you saw that picture, I don't know if you remember when they launched the home kit, if you went on the website, it said Lamine Yamal and there was the number 1 and a question mark. And I was like, oh my God, what number is he going to get? So if you've been up every night since then thinking, wow, what number is Lamine Yamal going to get? Don't worry. The answer is here. Lamine Yamal has officially received the number 10 kid. Now, of course, afterwards, Lamine Yamal did do an interview at the Camp Nou store. He went there and he did the whole where whenever a player gets signed, they go and they get the press, they get their kit, they put the name, the number, and they use the press, and then they show the kit. But he did have an interview, which I would like to review with you. Of course, he was asked about what the contract renewal means to him. Actually, let's do it this way. And this is what Lamine Yamal had to say. What this renewal means is I will continue to play for the club of my life. I will continue to enjoy it. There's no pressure on me. I will continue to enjoy myself with another number. Renewing with Barca until 2031 is a big step. It's the beginning of a road that I hope will be very long and full of victories. We'll see. We'll try to enjoy it more than last year, and hopefully I can fulfill my dreams here. So Lamine Yamal, of course, happy to be signing with the club of his life and saying, there's no pressure on him. And I think this is what kind of makes Lamine Yamal be Lamine Yamal, or how great he is, because I think he's not just saying that. I think we see it on the field. There really is no pressure with him. I mean, when he's on the field, he truly enjoys himself. He enjoys playing football. He doesn't feel the pressure. And I think that's what makes him shine so bright at such a young age. Because can you imagine, being 16, 17 years old and you're in a stadium full of 80, 90,000 people with millions of people watching you at home and people's hopes resting on your shoulder? I mean, that would be pretty terrifying for most, but not to Lamine Yamal, who again is unfazed by the pressure. And it's something that we talked about last summer. People kept asking me, "Oh, do you think Lamine should get the 10? It's too much pressure." And I was like, "No, it's not." I mean, this guy has shown that he is, despite being a kid, he's way more mature than most adults. And I think this last season was proof of that. But the way he carried Barcelona's attack, I mean, it's like he's just out with his friends playing street ball, now that he's in a stadium playing the Champions League. And now Lamine Yamal was asked about what it meant, to receive Messi's 10. I don't know why people keep insisting on this. Let just Lamine Yamal be Lamine Yamal. It doesn't have to be compared to Messi. I mean, leave the kid alone. Leave Messi alone. I mean, Messi's enjoying himself in Miami. There's no need to constantly bring him up every time you talk to Lamine Yamal. Plus, not to mention, this is not Messi's number 10. This is Barcelona's number 10 kid. Did Messi wear it? Yes, but so did other players like Ronaldinho, Maradona, etc. So it's not Messi's 10. It's Barcelona's 10. And that's what Lamine Yamal is inheriting. And while this is what the Barcelona player had to say, Messi has made his own path. I'm going to make mine. And the number 10 comes from Ansu now. So I will try to make all the culés happy, those who are there and those who are at home. So good response by Lamine, of course, saying, hey, Messi had his career. I'm going to make my own. Like, in other words, stop with the comparisons. Stop with these stupid questions. I mean, they're two different people. They're two different players. Let's stop with the whole like, oh, what's it like? Messi, Messi, Messi. Like, dude, leave him be. Anyways, now Lamine Yamal was asked about the criticism that he's been receiving and also about the attention that he's been getting outside the field. Most recently, the whole, hiring people with dwarfism for his party. And this is what Lamine had to say. The truth is that both criticism and praise, they are not from my family or from people very close to me. I'm indifferent, because otherwise one day I will be very high and another very low. Of course, he's not mean like high on drugs. I mean high as in doing great things, low not so much. At the end of the day, I work for Barca. I play for Barca. But when I'm away from the Ciudad Esportiva, I enjoy my life, and that's it. So, in other words, to all those people, trying to constantly paint Lamine Yamal as this horrible person in the media, mind your business. He's whatever he does off the field, that's his personal life. And unless you're his parents or someone close to him, he doesn't really care about your criticism. And I think that's a great way to look at it, because, when you're in that position, one of the most famous, if not the most famous footballer right now, unfortunately, there will be a lot of criticism out there. There will be a lot of negative attention. There will be a lot of, all this tabloid bullshit. And I think the best way for him, if he wants to succeed, is to just ignore all that noise, just focus on being a player, on improving, and on what his coaches tell him, not about what some, random reporter somewhere saying about him. And I think it's the best way to do it. I mean, if I was him, honestly, I would stay away from social media. I mean, just hire someone, or I'm sure he already has someone, and just let them manage the social media accounts and just stay away from that. Tune it all out. Otherwise, it could end up, affecting him, but it doesn't look like it is right now. Now, Lamine Yamal was asked about his ambitions, and he said, I haven't won the Champions League. So winning the Champions League and the World Cup. To win the title we have been missing, which has been the Champions League, and to keep growing and playing as well. And amen, Lamine Yamal, amen. I really do hope that you win the Champions League. I think these kids will, because it's ingrained in their mind. I mean, every time you talk to any of these La Masia kids, that's all they talk about. We won the Champions League. We won the Champions League. And I think it will happen, because these kids are driven, man. They want that trophy. So do I. I want to see Barcelona lift it one more time. Now, Lamine Yamal did confirm something I told you when his contract renewal was announced. When the contract agreement was reached and Barcelona announced it with a post on social media, I told you that the reason why there was no official ceremony like today, the signing at the offices and all of that, was because Lamine Yamal wanted his grandma there, because, he attributes a lot of his success to his grandma. His grandma was in Morocco. And today he confirmed that when he said the following: the event had been delayed because of her. because she was in Morocco. I want to try to repay her for everything she has done for me, which is not going to be possible because she has done a lot. So pretty cool gesture by Lamine Yamal, delaying his contract renewal, delaying the ceremony because, of course, he wanted his grandma to be there, which again he attributes a lot to him. And finally, Lamine Yamal was asked about what Flick had told him about him receiving the number 10 kit. And this is what Lamine Yamal said. Flick told me there's a double session tomorrow and to get to bed early. I mean, if that's not the most Flick thing you've ever heard, I don't know what is, but he's probably, you can imagine. I mean, hey, I got the number 10. Flick was like, cool. Tomorrow, double session. Go to bed early. I mean, that's the kind of guy Flick is. Discipline, discipline, discipline. No wonder he has been able to do miracles with this team in such a short period of time. Now, I do want to share one last thing, a video that Lamine Yamal posted on his channel that he did with his little brother. It is in Spanish, but it does have subtitles in English. And then we'll do the comment section. And then eventually we'll talk about Luis Diaz, which I know you guys love. And that's all you want to talk about. Of course, I'm kidding. Now, this is the video that Lamine Yamal posted on his social media outlet.
Para llevar esta camiseta no vale con jugar bien. Algunos marcaron historia, otros se divertían jugando. Y esto es lo mejor que he visto. ¿Y esa? A verla. Voy a darlo todo, te lo prometo. Voy a hacer mi propia historia.
So there's Lamine Yamal talking, of course, about making his own history as he looks at the other 10 number 10 jerseys that have been worn by former Barcelona players. I think you can see the first one that he grabs. It looks like Maradona's number 10. And then when he grabs the second one, it says, some had fun. Wait, hold on. Let me see. So you can see right here, that's Maradona's 10. Then he grabs the second one, which is Ronaldinho's 10, and says, some had fun. And then they don't show when he grabs the third one and he says, this is the best one I've seen. But that looks to be, Messi's number 10 kit. And then, of course, saying that he's going to be making history with his. So pretty cool video. And it's pretty cool that he included his little brother. As you see, Lamine Yamal is always with his little brother during celebration of trophies. But really cool video. Let me know your thoughts. And now let's do the comment section. And then we are going to talk about everyone's favorite player, Luis Diaz. All right, let's see. Sergio says, hey, Mo, I can't understand why are we rushing the return to date to Camp Nou. We'd rather have it safe than have a disaster that could cause injuries or even worse. Well, it's not about rushing it. I think the problem is the lies. It's all the lies, all the lies. Oh, November, December, February, April, May, August, September. And it's like you said, I'm pretty sure if you did a survey of all fans, they would be like, we don't care. Just take your time, do it the right way, and we'll be back when we'll be back. So I don't see what the need is to constantly lie to us about the return. I mean, all I can think of, it's populism, right? And this is just, Laporta is someone who uses his charisma a lot and depends on it a lot. So I think it's like, oh, let's just tell him something to be happy. Hey, we're going back next month. Yay! Then next month comes. It's actually the next month. Yeah, it's like there's no need for that. I mean, I think we can all agree that all we want is a final stadium that's beautiful, that's well done, that's safe, like you said. Like, there's no need for these lies. So the problem is not when we going back or whether being rushed or not being rushed. The problem is the lies. Like, stop lying to us. Marc says, get a real director of football and not someone who was a football agent a couple years ago. What an embarrassment. Deco holding such a big and vital position of one of the biggest clubs in the world. Yeah, I agree 100%. I don't think there's anything wrong with being an agent and then transitioning to being a sporting director. I think it's actually a good transition because you already have context in the world of of football. But the problem is you don't go from never working as a sporting director to being the sporting director of one of the biggest clubs who also happen to go who also happen to be going through a financial problem, because it's already very difficult to be the sporting director of a big club, but it's even more difficult if that club has, financial fair play problems and money problems. So then you need even someone even more experienced than usual. And so yeah, that's definitely not a position for someone who's first time as sporting director. You don't go from never being a CEO to being the CEO of Apple. Maybe you start with a little small startup, you get some experience, then you move up to a bigger company, then maybe to a mid company, and then eventually to a top company. But that's what happens, right? And this is something I've criticized Laporta and the board as well. Unfortunately, the first 2 years of Laporta's presidency were great. They were ran by his board was full of competent, experienced people. And then as those people started to leave, 30 plus executives resigning, he started replacing them with his friends. And well, who's one of his friends? Deco, right? And Deco has no business being a sporting director of Barcelona because he does not have the experience. Again, it makes sense to switching from an agent, but you go and you do that. You go from an agent to being a sporting director of maybe a third division club, and then maybe you go up to second division, and then maybe a first division club, but it's towards the bottom of the table, and then eventually work your way up to a first team. Alemany did not become a sporting director overnight of Barcelona. He worked at several other clubs before coming to Barcelona. But that's what happens when you have a president who just chooses his friends and whoever's close to him and whoever's loyal to him versus choosing competent people. But I'm the hater, right? Humphrey says, hi, Mo. Humphrey from Nigeria. I'm not too enthusiastic about Luis Diaz coming to Barca, although I don't have any replacement now that I would prefer. Not Diaz. Maybe we should check South America. Again, I think Luis Diaz would be a great option, but not for the money they're asking for. If Luis Diaz comes for 30, 40 mil, I'll be like, great, awesome. And even 40 for me would be pushing it. But 85, I mean, my God, that's just crazy. Wally Robbie says, hey, Mo, do you still believe in Laporta and Deco as a duo, or is there one that you don't believe in? I mean, believe in what sense? I think Deco is definitely way over his head for the position that he's in. I think with Laporta, obviously he's not way over his head. Laporta has plenty of experience being president of Barcelona, but Laporta at this point is a mixed bag. He went from being excellent during his first 2 years, and now these last 2 years has been very rocky. Lots of bad decisions, lots of mismanagement. And again, it all coincides with all those executives that left. We talk about all these sponsorships that Barcelona have signed, but the guy who actually signed all those sponsorships is gone. Talk about the Nike deal. Well, the guy who brought the Nike deal left. We talk about Eduard Romeo, who was instrumental in negotiating the Spotify Camp Nou financing deal. He's gone too. He was also instrumental in helping Barcelona balance its books. Also gone. There's been so many people who were very qualified, very experienced, who did amazing things during the first 2 years, and now they're all gone, which is fine. People leave all the time, but replace them with other qualified people. But what has Laporta done? Most of those positions are vacant, and the ones he did fill, he filled them with his friends. Deco, Enrique Masip, Olivier. It's like, what are we doing here? You're not running your family's bodega. You're running one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the biggest brands in the world. Act like it. Let's see. Justice Boyo says, I'll really go for Rashford and let the seeping dog lies on the transfer market. Barca should stop spending a lot of money for individual players like 100 million and 85 million. I agree. Yeah, I think we should definitely move away from from that era of dropping big money on players. I think 60, maybe 65 should be the limit for us. Because we've seen where the road leads us when we start dropping, 100 mil and 120, Dembele, Coutinho, Griezmann. We've seen where that road takes us. And John says, Mo, thank you for all the work you're putting in to give us latest Barca news. Meanwhile, guys, like the stream and subscribe. Thank you, my friend. And yes, please hit the like button, subscribe, drop a comment. All this helps the channel continue to grow. And let's do one more comment, and then we'll do the last bit of news, but just another person says, Mo, do you think Barcelona are going to get another good signing for the first team other than Garcia, or are we done for the season? I mean, the news is that Barcelona will try to get Rashford since Flick has greenlit the operation. Um, and that could be it, assuming that Rashford comes. Because it's not about Rashford wanting to come. Obviously, he does, but are we going to be able to register him if he does? That's a big problem. But again, we don't have to sign that many players. I mean, I think there's a big misconception out there where, Barcelona have to sign players every summer or have to sign a bunch of. We don't. We should just focus on what we need and just get that. If we need a left winger, let's get a left winger. And if that's the only signing of the entire summer, that's fine. That's all we need. Right? It's like I keep seeing posts of people making fun of Barca. Oh, look, Real Madrid signed Hoysen and Alexander, Trent Arnold, Trent. I was confused. He has like 3 first names anyway. Whatever his name is, and Mastantuono and blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, Barcelona only signs one. It's like, bro, you guys made all those signings, including Mbappe, just to be embarrassed by a group of teenagers. So that's not something I will be proud of as a Madridista, that Madrid is signing half of Europe, including a new coach. And the only reason you're signing half of Europe, including a new coach, is because you got embarrassed by a bunch of teenagers. So that's that misconception that we always have to sign people and we have to do in big quantities. Oh, if we don't sign 6, 7 players every summer, it's a failure. No, far, far from it. I mean, we have the greatest academy in the world. We don't need to be signing 6, 7 players every summer. We can sign 1 or 2. That's more than enough, right? We only signed Olmo last summer, and I guess Pau Victor too, and we still won 3 trophies and made it to the semifinals of the Champions League. We don't need to be signing half of Europe every summer. Anyways, let's do the last bit of news because this is big news. Because up to this point, it was being reported that Luis Diaz would prefer to stay in Liverpool as long as they gave him a bigger contract because he's happy there. But of course, he did earn very little. I think they're saying his salary was something like 2 or 3 million euros, which was very low for a player of his stature, a player who has contributed so much to Liverpool. So, of course, there was negotiations with Liverpool to improve his contract, and his position so far was, I prefer to stay at Liverpool as long as they give me a better contract. But now the new news is, I like that, new news. The new news is that Luis Diaz is reportedly getting ready to meet with Liverpool and his agent because he wants to communicate to the Premier League club that, well, he wants out. Now, of course, this is or could have implications on Barcelona because, as you know, Deco is very obsessed with bringing Luis Diaz to Barcelona. I don't think it changes anything because, again, we cannot afford what Liverpool are asking for. And here's the other side to the story, or the second half of the story, is that Bild, which is the German media outlet very close to Bayern Munich, if Bild reports about it, is because it's happened when it comes to Bayern Munich. They've reported that Vincent Kompany, Bayern Munich's coach, has actually called Luis Diaz personally. And of course, when a coach calls a player personally, it's usually because the signing is about to happen. That's usually either to convince the player to come or usually to explain what the project would be because the player is getting ready to join that club. So it looks like Luis Diaz will be asking to leave. Now we could speculate, maybe he's asking to leave because he wants to come to Barca. But once you couple it with the second bit of news that Vincent Kompany has already called him personally, then it's starting to look more and more likely that Luis Diaz is going to be asking to leave because his intention is to join Bayern Munich. Now, either way, I just don't see this signing happening. Like I said, we cannot afford 85 million. Yesterday, they were saying 100. And even Luis Diaz decides to force his way out. I mean, Liverpool is not going to go down from 85 million to 40 or something like that. If anything, they go down maybe to 75, which is still way, way out of the range of Barcelona. So it looks like Luis Diaz could end up being a Bayern Munich player. We'll see if Liverpool agree to his exit. But usually when players ask to leave, their clubs usually concede because the last thing you want is a player that doesn't want to be there on your squad. So Luis Diaz getting ready to prepare to ask for Liverpool to leave, and it looks like his next destination could be the Bundesliga. All right, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's do some comments, and then we will end this. But Trader says Deco confessed he failed math class and failed economics. He's bad with money. For 100 mil, we should just go for Isaac. Well, Isaac, they were saying Newcastle wanted 120, I think. Which again, we cannot afford 120, we cannot afford 100, we cannot afford 85. We can't afford anything above 60. So yeah, we can't go for Isaac either. Let's see. Costadin says, I mean, Laporta took us out of a tough situation twice. Would you say that him playing 3D chess or just like that he got good players both times? Messi, Ronaldinho, Yamal. I think, I mean, I'm not going to take merit from Laporta and tell you, he's a dumb guy who doesn't know what he's doing. He obviously knows what he's doing. But like the saying goes, it takes a village, and Laporta alone cannot take Barcelona out of the hole that they're in. And both times that he did, because he was surrounded by very capable people, which he is also a capable person. But again, you can't do it by yourself. You need other people around you. So when Laporta, in combination with other capable people around him, got together, they were able to do these things. They were able to take Barcelona out of the financial hole they were in the first time around in the 2000s. Obviously, it also did help that while we had Messi all of a sudden came out of the academy, and the hiring of Pep Guardiola. That obviously helped a lot because when the team is doing great on the field, money pours in, right? TV rights, merchandising, sponsorships. So obviously that did help, but it was also a combination of the fact that Laporta was surrounded by capable people. The second time around, same thing, right? Laporta surrounded himself with capable people, which that's credit to him because he's the one who picked his board. But now, second half of his second presidency, he's not doing it anymore, right? He's refusing to hire a CEO, refusing to fill out a lot of these positions. And that's when he starts to see the cracks. Not because Laporta is not capable himself, he is, but he can't do it by himself. He needs other capable people around him as well. Nobody can do this by themselves. It's impossible. It's a big, big club. So again, not to take credit away from him, but if he continues on this path where he continues to refuse to fill these positions and just surround himself with more and more of his friends, it's gonna keep happening. These cracks are gonna still surface, right? Let's see. Valerian says maybe it's time to find Limac Construction Company that already missed the deadline repeated amount of times. Also needs serious board management. Well, here's the thing. At this point, I don't even believe that clause exists, right? Because when Laporta signed the contract with Limac, he was like, oh, don't worry, the stadium is going to be built in no time. And in fact, there's a clause in the contract that for every day that Limac is late, it's a 1 million euro fine. Okay. Fast forward, now they're behind, kind of be almost a year. That's 365 days. 1 million euro a day, that's 365 million euros. And that could easily solve all of our problems. Well, not all of them, but it would go a long, long way. We would definitely achieve the 1-1 rule like that. And we'd be able to make all the signings we want this summer and still have plenty of more money to spend. But no. No, we're not going to activate that clause because we want to keep good relationships with Lyman. What tells me is that clause never really existed. It was just another bullshit lie that just to get people excited. Like, look at me. I'm the master of negotiations. I'm so great. I was able to negotiate a clause that punishes them for every day they're late. Yeah, because if that clause existed, why wouldn't you enforce it? Right? So if it does exist, we're stupid because why wouldn't you enforce it? Both sides agreed to it. And if it doesn't exist, then they're liars. So which one you want to be, Laporta? You want to be a liar who lied about the clause, or you just want to be stupid for not enforcing a clause that both parties agreed to that would go a long way in solving our financial problems? So either way, it's a lose-lose for him. But Miska Michael says Nike should host a jersey design competition for Barca's anniversary of 130s. I bet we should we would see a gorgeous jersey. I think Nike should host a competition every season because they're getting lazier and lazier with these designs. Not to mention, they're terrible at stocking the kits. The Lamine Yamal kit is already, the number 10 is already out of stock. I mean, it's crazy. Last season, I could not get the home kit because, and I was checking like every week, constant, all the time, out of stock, out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. It's like, do you not want to make money? Like, can you just not make extra? I don't know. Ross says, were you talking about the Taco Man for a sec? Also, Mo, would Messi get deported, you think? You think he thinks about things like that watching the news? No, they're not going to deport Messi. I mean, so Justin Bieber is actually a Canadian citizen, and he has been in trouble with the law so many times. He's been arrested so many times that if this was any other immigrant, it would have been immediately deported because if you commit crimes, you get deported. But why hasn't Bieber been deported? Well, because he generates a lot of money. So no, Messi's not going to get deported. I mean, Messi can commit murder. They're going to keep him here because he makes a lot of money for the country and taxes and everything. Top G says, why do we have an unexperienced Deco as a sporting director at Barca? Do you know that Deco once said he was not good at finance when he was in school? Again, because Laporta likes to hire his friends. Corazon says, hey, Mo, why don't Sochis pressure the board, Mo? Ain't Barca owned by Sochis? Because Laporta feeds them the same bullshit he feeds us. And if the Sochis were not willing to push out Bartomeu, who was straight up stealing from the, well, hasn't been proven, but looks like he was. I mean, they're definitely not going to push out Laporta. So, Not the Gamer says, let's hope Diaz doesn't turn into Mane if he goes to Bayern. Well, if he goes to Bayern, I don't care what happens to him, right? And Abdullah says, just waiting for one thing, which is Luis Diaz says that he wants to join only Bayern Munich. I don't see Luis Diaz forcing his way out. Like, I'm sure he's gonna tell, hey, I want to leave, but he's not gonna be like, I'm only leaving here, and if not, I'm not playing, or nah. Only because he's very grateful to Liverpool. But who knows, right? And either way, it doesn't concern us because it doesn't look like he's gonna come here. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your likes, your comments, subscriptions. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. And leave a comment. I want to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions about all the news today. No more videos. No more videos. That was all the news coming out of Barcelona today. I mean, big news. Lamine Yamal, number 10 in the Camp Nou. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's videos. And as always, Viscarsa.